Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just Another Autism Podcast. I'm Eileen Lamb, and today I am joined by Billy Mayfair. Billy Mayfair is a top professional golfer. I mean, big deal. He's the only one to have ever beat Tiger Woods in a PGA Tour playoff. Pretty big deal, right? And little secret, it's not the first time Billy comes on the podcast. He came on the podcast a couple of years ago to talk about his autism diagnosis because, yes, Billy is also on the spectrum. So I'm very excited to welcome Billy back on the podcast. He also recently joined Autism Speaks Team 20. And if you're not familiar with Team 20 yet, Team 20 is a group of celebrities, athletes, and advocates who are dedicated to building an inclusive world for people with autism. Welcome back, Billy. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast again.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Eileen, for having me back. It's really an honor to be with you.
Of course. So for people who haven't listened to the previous episode, can you maybe tell them again about your autism diagnosis journey?
Well, it's kind of a long and unusual journey. Being a professional athlete, being a golfer for my whole life. When my wife Tammy and I were married and all that, she kind of noticed some habits, some things that she didn't think were quite right, and I got disqualified in Los Angeles for a ruling that was right, and I did do the right thing, but I was in a way kind of bullied by the tour, and I was disqualified, which I did later find out from the USGA that I was in the right. But at that point in time, my wife thought that I should have some type of test done to see what was going on, if there was anything there. And of course, as normal, most guys would, I fought it. I was normal, and everyone else was different. So it took her a while, but after the disqualification, I did agree to get tested for autism, and even after I had the test done and the results came back, it took me quite a while to open up the envelope and start reading it and start seeing it. But when I finally did, it really opened up my eyes. It made me understand a lot of things, why I do what I do, some of the habits that I have, some of the struggles I had growing up in school and social life and all that. So, I'm really an advocate now for people to have, if they have any doubts or they think no matter what your age is, go get tested, because it really can open up a lot of doors. And I can't sit here and say that it's helped my golf game as much as always, but it has definitely made me a better husband, a better father. And it is so important for me now to get the word out and work with people and to help not just people with autism, but their families and family members. So it's very gratifying for me.
You say it hasn't really helped your golf game, but are there any aspect of it now when you're playing golf that maybe with your autism in mind, you've changed since you know that you have autism?
Absolutely. I mean, a very good example was even last week in Florida when we were playing. You get in the heat of in the battle, and there's distractions and things start going. I always kind of say that little hamster in my top, my brain was starting to run as fast as it could, and I just needed to take a second and take a deep breath and try to calm myself down and get my focus back. And I think I'm a lot better at doing that now than I was, and that was because I found out I had autism.
You have a coach or like a therapist, someone who gave you some techniques to stay grounded?
Well, I did a lot of, when I was tested, it was right around COVID. So I got to spend a lot of time at home. So I worked with a lot of psychologists then. I worked at home to kind of get better at it and all that. And it's a learning process every day. I mean, I'm learning something new every day, but I don't have a coach for that. But I do have a support dog. I have my puppy kind of knows when things are kind of going bad. He'll start leaning against me, or he'll start barking at me. He can really sense things very well, so he's obviously a very good support for me.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a toy poodle.
Oh, so
Yeah,
cute.
yeah, he's wonderful, and he's really smart too.
How did you get him to be able to do that? Did you go through a foundation, association?
Well, we rescued him, first of all. I should say he rescued us. I like saying that a little bit better. But after we had him for a while, we had him trained and all that, and he just does a wonderful job. He sits on my lap, and we travel together, and he can sense when my problems are coming, or if my heart rate gets going, or if I get a little bit disturbed or quite confused about things, he can realize that right away, and either he will bark at me, or he'll start doing some type of pressure therapy on me.
Great. Do you think the way you practice now has changed compared to earlier in your career? Like, is your routine different?
Well, yeah, it's obviously, a little bit different. I'm not 22 years old anymore. I'm 58, and so you can't spend as many hours out there practicing as you could when you were younger. But I think that I've learned to spend the time I am out there in a lot more quality time, to focus more on. And I do realize that after a certain point in time, I have to take a break. I have to leave the course, come home, take a little nap or do something. And if I want to do some more practice, then go back, kind of break it up more than trying to be out there for maybe 6, 7 hours straight. So I think that's what I've learned probably the most.
Are there any drills or practice habits that you swear by that an amateur golfer should try and know about?
Well, for golf, I mean, you always want to practice like you're on the golf course. You want to practice things that you are struggling with. And I always think that's the short game. Everybody wants to hit the golf ball a long way. I think it's a short game. But the one thing I guess I've learned the most through autism and all this is that when your brain gets tired and your body gets tired, you cannot perform at any type of level. You have to be rested. And for some of us, they can go longer, and some of us are shorter and all that. But you have to be aware of when you get to that limit, your body and your brain will tell you, and it's just time to stop.
What would you say has always come most naturally to you when it comes to golfing, and what has taken the most work?
What is the most work at it, or
Yeah, what's the skill like when it comes to golfing that took you the most work? Because I feel like, some of the skills, they cannot come naturally, like, and a lot of them you have to work harder. So which one are which?
Well, when it becomes very hard for me to focus with my eyes on target, seeing my target, being in the moment, when it's maybe not always so physical with me, it's just when I have to use my brain, and I start focusing on a target, or a specific thing that I want to do. When that gets difficult for me to do, I just, hey, just take a break, go to the restroom, get a drink of water, do something. Just give yourself your brain a minute to regenerate and reboot, and off you go. But that's usually where I find it the most. It's not so much always physical, it's just more mental.
Has it always been that way for you?
Yes, it has. And it probably wasn't until after I was diagnosed that it made more sense to me. I've always been a person who likes to practice. I love to practice out there. I'm in my own sanctuary when I'm out there. But even when I was growing up and I was younger, I'd go hit balls for 3, 4 hours, and then I'd go, to a restaurant and eat lunch, or take a break for a couple hours and then go back. And that always seemed to work the best for me. And that's what I realized I have to kind of get back to doing, because my brain can only stay focused on something for so long.
What do you like to do outside of golf to kind of like reset?
Well, I love to work out. But my biggest thing I love to do is I just relax, and get in the chair, in a recliner, and watch TV. I love to watch movies. I love to watch old movies, and it's just, for me, it's just a break. I relax. I don't worry about anything, and my mind just goes into that unconscious state where I just can relax.
Do you watch golf?
No, not this. Even this week's very hard for me to watch golf. With the Masters being this week, but I'm not one who likes to watch golf. I've watched some videos of myself, and all that stuff, and I kind of see who wins every week. But I don't sit by the TV and watch golf for hours. And I probably won't even do it this week of the Masters.
Fair enough. So, do you think that there are any misconceptions about autism that you'd like to, help clear up? I mean, I feel like you're a person who can talk about these things, like maybe in the press, and being an athlete, a high performance athlete. So, do you think there are misconceptions you could help clear up?
Well, I do. I do. I think that a lot of young people who are diagnosed with autism and all that are told that you have a very limited road. There's only very few things that you can do and be successful at. And I'd like to get out and try to tell them that you can be successful at anything that you want to be. And in fact, by being autism, you have a very special gift of being able to hyper focus on things that you love to do. If it's athletics, if it's a computer, if it's mathematics, or engineering, whatever you like. And a lot of CEOs and presidents of companies are looking for that. And when I go back and tell the kids that, or even grown-ups that, you can just see their reaction in their face, like, hey, yeah, that's what I like to do. And I just like putting out the word to telling them that just because you've been diagnosed with autism, you're not limited to anything. You can, the world's still out there for you, and you have a very specific talent, and go after it.
And the other side of the coin, I mean, your autism, from what you were telling me, affected your relationships. And how has it changed now that you know you have autism? Like, which aspects of the diagnosis are you working on, I guess, now that you're more aware?
Well, I was the one that I was probably the weakest at was facial expressions. Other people's facial expressions, I would not pick up on things, and sometimes that my reaction to what I thought they were talking, and the response that I would give back gave me kind of a stuck up, a more too confident, too cocky. Sometimes as a person, which I was never trying to be, I just kind of misunderstood the reading. I've also learned to, if there's any doubt in my mind or I'm not quite sure, it's okay to take a minute and refocus, or re-ask the question again, because you don't want to misinterpret what someone's trying to say. And I think that's one of the most important things I've learned, that, I'd rather ask the person who's asking me the question 2 or 3 times, what do you mean by that? Or what do you really want, before saying something that will make me look bad, or come across that a different meaning than what I mean. But facial expressions, and of course, then I don't want to say my temper level, but I mean, at some point, my body, will get frustrated. I get tired, and I just have to be very aware of that. And, when that happens, you just have to just kind of walk away and take a couple deep breaths, and just get the whole body reset again.
Have you had any conversations about your diagnosis with maybe like players or other people in the sports that?
I've had a few discussions with players. I think that I think almost all, some type of professional athletes are a little bit autistic in a way. It's the best way for them to hyper focus. I think that, I know for a lot of golfers that I know very well, come and say that, we kind of have the same symptoms. We kind of think the same way, and they'd ask me questions about it. Now, have they been diagnosed yet or not? That's not my business. They can do whatever they want. But, you know, to me, the best way of dealing with that, and finding out that, is to find out what you have and find out what your weaknesses are, so that you can work on it.
Totally. And you just joined Autism Speaks Team 20, which we're very excited about. For our listeners, Team 20, it's a group of celebrities and advocates, athletes who are, really committed to building an inclusive world for autistic people. So
Mm-hmm.
really happy to have you. What does it mean for you now, like to do that sort of advocacy?
Well, first of all, I'm very honored. I think I'm very honored, and it allows me now to go out and talk to people, maybe help people even more. They can recognize me, they see me out there, that I'm a professional golfer, and a lot of people can relate to that. And it also, it gets, they're not scared now to come up and say something to me, and I never want people to. I love talking about it. I love helping people about it, but I'm very honored, like I said. But I think I can help more people now that I am in the top 20, because people will recognize me. They'll say that, hey, he has autism, and not just autistic people either, to help parents, siblings, with the problems that they have. And it's very important for my wife and I to do that.
It's good. Yeah, you're a great representation. It's good for kids to see, can have autism and still be successful. Do you
Yes.
ever fan mail, and do people have a way to reach you?
BillyMayfair.org is probably the easiest way out there. They can always get information through the PGA Tour and all that, but BillyMayfair.org is probably the best way to get hold of me right now.
Awesome. Well, Billy, thank you so much for joining me again on the podcast today. It's always a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners?
Well, Eileen, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it, and everything that you do for autism. And as I say, to everyone when I get finished, I mean, if you have any doubts or any concerns with this, or your loved ones do, go get tested. And I cannot stress and emphasize the most after you're tested how when you read the results, it will really, really change your life. And I encourage people to do that as soon as you can, because it really can change your life and make you feel really good about yourself.
I'll second that as someone who was diagnosed in my 20s. So thank you.
Thank you.